Coming up on Tekzilla, the Kindle 2 reviewed how it works out in real life. Hacking back your iPod if you've forgotten the screen lock code, which sucks if you're my niece. GPS picks under $200 and more of your questions. Forget what the doc said about cholesterol. Order that chicken fried steak and double up on the gravy because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by Squarespace, GoDaddy.com, and Gamefly. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you already own.
Yes, whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about internet access on the road, computer security, digital photography, or the best breakfast place in Bakersfield, you've probably got an answer to that one, I would imagine.
I do. I have a new one as of this weekend.
Oh, speaking of which, there's going to be a new fried chicken and waffles place opening up in San Francisco.
Really?
Yes.
One that doesn't require us to carry armaments to get to it from the car?
Where? Why? Where's that?
I'll tell you about it another time. Last week, Kevin Rose was here.
Yeah.
Kevin came by.
Yeah, he did. It was fun. It was a good show.
When you're out.
We missed you. We missed you though too.
Oh.
It was a great show.
You hear Roger in my ear. Great show. It was a great show.
Say it was a great show.
It's all downhill now, people.
Where were you though? What were you doing?
Well, my wife and I and the baby drove to Vegas, picked up my parents and my niece, drove to Williams, to the Grand Canyon,
Wow.
to Tuba City, saw dinosaur tracks, saw the Grand Canyon, saw the Vermilion Cliffs, Navajo Bridge, Zion, which is amazing, rescued a couple of Mennonite kids.
Really?
Actually, we basically loaned them a cell phone. The alternator died in their car at like
Oh, wow.
6,700 feet at the Kaibab Forest.
That's a lot of family, man. That's like a lot of road time with your family. I don't know if I could handle that.
My folks are super chill and super fun to hang out with, so
That's good. That's good.
The baby was like done about 6 days into this 9-day road trip. He was just like, not the car again.
And internet access?
Internet access was
I have to
shockingly
ask.
good. Actually, most of Central Arizona is like a 1x RTT zone,
Mm-hmm.
so the download speeds were not fast. If you happen to find yourself at 7,000 feet in the Kaibab National Forest without a cell phone that works, it's one of those things you laugh, right? And this isn't just an AT&T thing or a Verizon thing or a Sprint thing. Walking 40 feet can often make a ridiculous difference in cell phone
I thought that
coverage.
was just in the city where all the buildings and hills are kind of blocking, the cell phone accessibility.
Getting out of the truck into the snow and walking like 30 feet away from the truck was the difference between these two kids being able to call AAA and us having to
That's
tow
so
them
crazy.
out of the forest.
So what other tech stuff did you use on your trip?
I use my Sprint EVDO modem constantly, or basically at nights. The Kindle 2 turned out to be the sneak hit of the trip. My wife was in love with this thing. We'll talk about that more in a couple
Can
minutes.
she read in the car?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't
Like
do
$3.
that. I get sick after like 5 minutes.
I read in the car all the time.
How do you do that? Do I just
I've
have like
been
a
doing
weird
it since I
equilibrium
was.
or something?
I think if you start doing it before you're smart enough to know that you're supposed to get sick when you're reading
Oh,
in the
okay.
car.
So it's all psychosomatic, is what you're saying.
It may be legitimate. I'm not questioning it.
Interesting.
I know some people who don't get sick on the deck of a boat.
Well, we'll hear more about the Kindle later,
Yes.
but first we have some questions to get to. And our first question of the day comes from Miriam, who has a keen interest in sub-$200 GPS units for her car.
I'm looking for a car GPS unit that costs less than $200. What do you think are the most important features? Also, would you choose one of these or something else? I'm a huge fan of Tekzilla and all of the Rev3 shows, so thank you so much, and please keep them coming.
Miriam, funny you should mention this because I just bought a sub-$200 GPS on my road trip, literally on my way to Bakersfield.
So you actually spent your own money. This was not a review unit. This is
Correct.
something you spent your own hard-earned
I spend my
cash on.
own hard-earned money on products all the time, especially software, because like you ever bought the worst is when you buy a video game and it's an absolute, I can't say POS, it's a piece of
You
stuff.
can say POS.
I can
It's
say
a piece
POS.
of
You just can't look it up on the
stuff.
internet if you're under 18. In any case, yeah, I bought one because the iPhone's GPS was the big suck on I-5 heading down.
Piece of suck.
Piece of suck.
Piece of suck.
Piece of suck. Outstanding.
Thank you.
Quick, somebody Twitter that. We'll turn it into a meme, and then we'll take over the world. Yeah, it was basically. It was kind of funny because it started this whole debate, right, on before I like faded out. Basically, before I got into the big west and the open skies and the beautiful vistas, and just disappeared from Twitter. And I was like, I've got 5 bars of coverage and the GPS isn't working. People are like, what does it matter? GPS doesn't require cell phone coverage. Well, actually, if you're working on a cell phone, if the maps aren't stored on the cell phone, if you don't have access to the network, you do not have access to the maps.
They don't download them, right?
Exactly, which means if you don't have a big fat, DeLorme gazetteer or something else with GPS locations and access to the GPS coordinates on your phone, you can't use your phone for navigation. So think about that before you head out into the middle of nowhere. And also, it's frustrating because I know a bunch of people have had the same problem. You get to certain areas and the iPhone's GPS coverage just drops out. It happened to me twice in Arizona. There is no reason your GPS should not work. You may not be able to find maps, but there's no reason GPS shouldn't work if you're like standing outside the car holding it up towards the sky. This is just
I've had
annoying.
the problem with phones before where because of being around buildings and being down streets that are blocked on both sides by skyscrapers, it just can't, suddenly my dot is in the middle of a block and I'm like, I'm not there. What's going on?
Wrong.
Yeah.
And that can happen to regular GPSs too. And I should point out, I bring all this up, Miriam, because your cell phone is an option, especially if it has programs where you can download the data for the state you're traveling in or the city you're traveling in into the phone. Second thing, before we start talking about specific models, overpaying is kind of like a rite of passage in GPS. Shop around. There are amazingly bad deals on there. There's always a store who has a model that's like 3 years old and works like crap for the same price they were selling it for 3 years ago. So it's like $600 when today's sub $200 models will outperform it. GPSLodge.com always lists deals. They've got great reviews. Look for GPS steals and deals in the upper left-hand corner of their homepage. It's awesome because basically they'll have all that Amazon 24-hour sales stuff will be listed up there. So they do a really good job of that. But I gotta say, most of the off-brands suck. I tend to stick to Garmin, TomTom. I really like Mio if you're into like GPS data or having like an exact countdown of the immediate time, the arrival time, the average speed, the terminal speed. Mio is really fun for that. Watch for the cost of map updates because in a lot of cases, especially with some of the off-brands, you don't get decent maps on it because it's been sitting on a shelf for 6 months or a year, or maybe they have a cheap section of maps.
But you can buy updated maps for that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You can get a different
in most
memory
cases,
card or
these days,
maps.
most of it's like a UPS download onto it. There's still some that use the cards. Definitely check to see what it's going to cost you to upgrade maps, because if you're going to hold on to this for a couple of years, at some point roads are going to change. Roads change kind of constantly, or they find out things like, for example, my mother's street in Long Beach Island, New Jersey has been there for 30 years, and some digital mapping systems are just now figuring out that there's blocks and blocks of New Jersey that they'd never covered. Or you laugh. Yeah, you laugh, right? Or if you're in real estate and you travel constantly and you live in one of those places like up until recently where they added another development every 6 weeks, so I guess it's probably not going to be happening a lot with the economy the way it is. Older mapping systems, like there's entire neighborhoods
they
that
don't take
exist.
urban sprawl into account, is what you're saying.
You laugh, right? But maps have been changing a lot lately. Miriam was looking at the Garmin Nuvi 255. Great unit. It's an entry-level Garmin GPS. It's got turn-by-turn with spoken street names, very similar to the discontinued 260. That should be selling for like 130, 150 bucks at the high end. The 255 and the 260 from Garmin, they also come in the W versions, as in 260W, which are widescreen. They're going to cost around $50 more than the 3.5. They're like 4.3-inch widescreen versus a 3.5-inch regular screen. Same voices, same navigation, same maps. Garmin's my de facto. They're not as GPS geek happy making as the Mio lineup, but they're a good solid point-to-point GPS. Garmin Nuvi 360, she mentioned, it's a discontinued model. It's on sale all over the place. Garmin must have had giant warehouses of these things. It's got Bluetooth for hands-free phone. It's a 3.5-inch screen. It'll do a great job. Mostly, though, you're going to pay for the Bluetooth hands-free phone connection if you're into that kind of thing. Rightway RW355. Never heard of them. Can't find any reviews of them anywhere. Could be great, could suck. It's got Navtech maps. They're pretty solid. Last one on her list was the TomTom 125. A lot of people love the TomTom interface. Don't pay more than 120 bucks for this model because that's the price at TomTom.com. If you search around on the web, you can easily find it for 100 bucks.
I like TomToms personally.
Yeah, a lot of people. I'm a Garmin guy. You're a TomTom gal.
I'm a TomTom gal.
TomTom gal. It's an interesting.
Plus, you can get like the Mr. T voices.
Well, you know what's really funny? Mio did one that has the voice from Kit.
Oh, that's really
and
cool
all these
too,
celebrity
yeah.
voices. I generally sort of turn the voices off, and
They're fun.
it depends on whether or not they're, if you sort of go off thing and it's like make right, and it's just.
Oh yeah, what does it say? It says like Please make U-turn at nearest possible opportunity or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, shut up, I know! God! Stop talking! Ah! A lot of good options though out there.
Ton of options. I actually picked up a Garmin Nuvi 260 and also discontinued. Or actually, I picked up a 260W, which is not discontinued if I'm not mistaken. I overpaid like $50 compared to ordering online from the same place, which is Costco. Costco.com has a $50 discount on it, but I needed it now and not 7 to 10 days from now. A lot of folks buying from GPS need it now, so stores often gouge a bit, especially if they are near major highway crossings or vacation areas.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes.
That makes
Prices
sense.
will vary, and they will vary hugely on the internet, so shop around before you buy.
Well, a lot of good options there for sure. I mean, I don't have a car, so I don't really need a GPS, but good to
Actually,
know what's
a lot
out
of them
there.
support walking now.
I don't walk that much. Anyhow, want to make me happy? Send us in a video question. Just record yourself in front of a video camera asking a question and try to make sure it's no longer than around 15 seconds. Upload your question to YouTube, then email us a link to your fabulous video question with, of course, video question in the subject line. It's so easy. Try sending us one today.
Coming up, the Kindle 2 reviewed. Pretty pricey, pretty amazing, pretty cool. We're going to talk about that and a big old stack here of your questions in just a moment.
Let's thank one of today's sponsors, Squarespace. Here to tell you more about them is one of Revision 3's fabulous interns, Tyler Howarth.
Hey Tekzilla fans, I'm Tyler Howarth, an intern here at Revision 3, and I'm here to talk about Squarespace. I'm sure you've all heard about Squarespace's excellent WYSIWYG editor, their fancy templates, their excellent customer service, the list goes on and on. But did you know that plenty of large-scale sites use Squarespace as well? Kevin Rose, Sarah Lane, Alex Albrecht. Mark Echo even uses Squarespace to host and serve his content. That's because Squarespace is built to scale. Kevin Rose's blog has hit the front page of Dig multiple times, and Squarespace hosting holds up in the most frightening amount of traffic. Every Squarespace site, even the lowest level, is built to scale and will never go down because of surges in traffic. It helps me sleep at night knowing that my personal site will always be up and live on the interwebs just how it should be. Because Squarespace is cool and down with Tekzilla, they're giving fans 10% off of the life of their membership. Just use the promo code TEKZ when you sign up for your account. So remember, for all your website needs, check out Squarespace.
Welcome to this week's freebie download pick. A free program we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, XVID for PSP. Are you sick and tired of spending hours or even days transcoding your digital video content just to find that it won't play on Xbox, PS3, PSP, cell phone, iPod, or Apple TV? Do you wish there was an easier way of dealing with the hassle of converting a video clip from one format into another? Guess what? There is, and even better, it's free. XVID for PSP is an all-in-one utility designed to tackle the transcoding nightmare with a simple-to-use and easy-to-understand interface. Just open the file you wish to convert and select the target format you want from the drop-down menu. If you want to tweak the encode settings, you can select from the additional drop-down menus below. And if you need to adjust the surround sound settings, click on Configure, a very important tweak for owners of PS3s and Xbox 360s. So if you want the latest episode of your favorite TV shows on your game console, cell phone, or set-top media player without the transcoding trial and error, give XVID for PSP a try. And hey, just because there's PSP in the name doesn't mean PSPs are the only things it works for. The sublime vistas of Zion National Park, the Vermilion Cliffs Monument, and of course the Grand Canyon aren't just a quick hop across the Bay Bridge. No, they require a very long drive and lots of hours to get to, and lots of things like the sagebrush outside of Barstow. A fun town, a fun view, but after 6 hours, it gets old. What better way to test out the new Kindle 2 than a lengthy drive to the southwest? Of course, I was driving, so my wife pretty much bogarted the Kindle 2 for the whole trip in the car, and I pried it from her sleeping hands at night. So, let's get this out of the way. There are two problems with the Kindle. One, I want it to cost less than $359. Not because it's not most excellent, it is outstanding. This thing is the bomb for travelers that like to read. I have happily read for hours on this thing. Gaiman's American Gods, Heart of Darkness, and my wife whipped through 3 books in the car. It's great, it's not cheap. 2, it has no backlight, so you can't read it in the dark. I saw problem 2 with a quick purchase at a truck stop, the Great Point Light, $14.95, which clipped quite handily to the cover.
Aha, nice.
And I just put out, the Kindle no longer comes with a cover, you have to buy one. And I highly recommend you do, or else the screen will get muffed up. And problem 1, the price I expect to slowly go away as the Kindle 3 and 4 come out. If you like reading on the plane or at night, like, find a little LED booklet like this.
You know, I bought one of those and then I lost it. I bought one, I think last time I went to Japan, and I can't find it anywhere for the life of me. Yeah, it's faster and thinner than the original Kindle. As you can see here, it's like 1/3 of an inch thin.
Yes.
Inch thick, rather. I guess it depends on the way you look at it. You've got a free 3G, so you can connect with their WhisperNet, as they say.
It actually, I mean, it was definitely a lot slower out in the sticks than it was in the cities, but it worked almost everywhere we went, except like the middle of the national forest.
You can use that to download books, newspapers, magazines, and blogs. They do charge a monthly fee for the blog subscription, which I find kind of weird.
Yeah, but I guess they got to cover the subscription. Basically, they're paying for the. Part of the reason I think it's so expensive is because there is no monthly fee for the 3G access, so they got to make that up somewhere.
That seems fair. The battery life is really great, I've noticed. I've never had too much trouble with the battery life.
Well, it depends on if you're in like a 1X RTT area, the battery life goes through the floor. So if you're in the middle of nowhere and you start downloading a bunch of stuff,
well, if you're doing that, I just meant with regular use type stuff.
Right.
Like if you're reading for 6 hours, you don't have to worry about your battery dying.
No, in theory, you should be able to, with the wireless off, you should be able to read for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We were getting like 3 days because we kept downloading more books.
Stuff, running out of stuff to read. They did away with the whole SD card slot from the Kindle One also, which I guess helps make it a lot thinner. And I mean, it wouldn't take up too much room on here if they decided to add it, but
maybe it
you
just
can see
makes
why
it
they don't need it.
Cheaper? Well, yeah.
Maybe.
There's like 2 gigabytes of storage inside of it.
Yeah.
1.4 gigabytes is available for your stuff. Amazon says that's enough for over 1,500 books.
1,500 books.
Yeah, we're both like, it's like a library.
Yeah. The navigation is a little bit different from last time around. The buttons changed on the sides here. I actually find it less intuitive in terms of the next page button, because last time you pushed out, and this time the button goes in.
Yeah, see,
I liked the push out.
The next and previous worked pretty good for me. The thing I hate the position of the thumbstick they use now, but I like it so much more than the scroll wheel and that weird silver thing on the side of the screen.
Was a little bit bizarre.
Yeah.
It's got a 6-inch 600 by 800 e-ink screen, as you can see. It looks great and it's pretty easy on the eyes. I mean, it's a lot better for me than looking at an iPhone for that same amount of time. I mean, it really does read like a book. It now has 16 shades up gray, up from 4 shades, so the graphics are a lot better too.
Yeah, Amazon says the page turns are 20% faster. I found the Kindle 2's page turns a lot less annoying than they have on previous e-ink devices I've used. Keyboard works great. It's a nice improvement over the original.
Yeah.
We're disagreeing about the major nav buttons. The keyboard?
Yeah, I haven't used the keyboard too much, so I guess I can't really speak to that.
One of the things I noticed, even that they charge for monthly for blogs, but they don't charge for a lot of stuff that's in the a lot of the classics, like Gutenberg Project type stuff.
Yeah.
So I can download those for free. So I've got like Sherlock Holmes in there. My cousin and I are reading a couple things.
Fill those gaps in your literary knowledge pretty easily.
Well, it's just nice to actually have it because this is stuff I always like reading. And you're definitely right. That screen is a lot easier on your eyes than a cell phone.
Yeah, people have tried to convince me to just download the ebook app from the iTunes store, and it's nice. I mean, they've got some good stuff on there, but I just can't stand the constant flicking back and forth of pages. I mean, it takes. I'm actually a pretty fast reader, so by the time I get to the bottom of the page, I might as well just be like. It's a good wrist workout, I suppose.
Staring at a brightly lit screen doesn't help. Normally, like I said before, you should get like 4 days of reading with the wireless on, up to 2 weeks with the wireless off. If you're in an area that doesn't have full 3G coverage and you leave the wireless on and download a lot of books, the coverage, basically the battery life is going to go through the floor. So make sure you turn off the wireless when you're not using it. You will get much, 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 much better battery life out of it.
Yes, and you can charge right through this USB port right here.
Nice.
So you don't have to carry around a whole separate thing with you. Just plug it right into your computer and it charges. I had an issue with the first Kindle because I think I tried to charge it somehow, or I didn't bring the right charging something with me. I can't remember what it was, but I was stuck in Japan. I was trying to read Anthem.
Oh no, which is a long book.
Which is a very long book, and it had died because I had been there for like 2 weeks. And I was like, damn it, can't charge. But probably wouldn't have that same problem with this one.
Yeah.
So
USB chargers are everywhere, even in truck stops.
Right.
Especially in truck stops. WhisperSync is the other thing they announced when they announced the Kindle 2. They haven't talked about it too much. It's the idea that you can read on the Kindle and the iPhone and other devices. It actually will save the page you're on and sync that across devices.
Yeah, so if you do want to read on the iPhone, you have that option without having to buy all new stuff.
Or you can go back
and
forth.
Program.
Well, if if we choose to buy one of these and my wife keeps borrowing it, then I can sort of keep reading my stuff on the iPhone.
There you go.
Okay, $359 $200, available only from Amazon.com. You know, one other thing I'd like to add is a little bit better sort of chapter navigation. The thing that struck me with it, I didn't really expect to like this. I really didn't expect my wife to like it.
All my talking it up back in the day didn't encourage you that maybe it was an awesome product?
Well, yes and no, because I think of what kind of... Well,
my thumbs up review did nothing for you?
Have I ever given things a thumbs up review and you've been like, bleh?
No.
Oh. Well,
I trust your opinion, Patrick.
I trust your opinion too, but you know what it is? It's because I've had so many miserable experiences with ebooks. Like the first book I read electronically.
I mean, geez, how many of them are there? There's not that many.
The first one I actually used was a 3.5-inch format for a William Gibson novel. I want to say, not Adoru.
I love William Neuromancer.
No, it was after Neuromancer. In any case, on a frickin' 6.5 Mac, like a MacBook Duo 280.
Okay, I can see why that would be a bad experience. But technology has evolved and changed since then.
Yes, it has. No, but I guess in between, there have been a number of experiences in between, like then and now. But the thing I like the most about this is actually because it's Amazon, they have a huge amount of, they just have a huge selection of books, like 250,000 books or something like that.
Tom and I keep having the problem of all our book club books not being on the Amazon Kindle store.
Is that because you're going for obscure science fiction?
No!
I don't know.
Like, what was the last one? Like Dune. Dune isn't on the Kindle store. Dune. It's like the most classic sci-fi
Maybe we just
tale
take up
that
too
I can
much space.
possibly think of.
The world's. I actually hope to never read Dune again, but that's just me. You know what? Okay, so there we have it. Every book I've looked for so far has been on it, and all of the books you guys are looking for hasn't been on it.
To each their own, anyway.
It seemed like it had a lot of books, which
it does.
Compared to previous ones, like one of the first Sony ones I read, and a couple of sort of like third party, never heard of them. It's got an amazing selection. I remember one where they literally had like 400 books.
That's pretty awful. Well, coming up next, locked out of your iPod. Yes, it does happen to people from time to time, and it's very upsetting. We'll show you how to hack your way back in, but first...
Gamefly is the largest online video game rental service and offers you a choice of over 6,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. Plans start at $15.95 a month. Gamefly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like, i.e. until you finish it. No late fees, no due dates, and shipping is always free. Once you're done playing a game, send it back. Gamefly will send you the next available game on your list. If you really like the game you're playing, simply click Keep It on the Gamefly website and the game is yours at a discounted price. Gamefly will even mail you the case and manuals free of charge. Now, you want a deal? Of course you do. Tekzilla fans, you get a free 2-week trial when you go to gamefly.com/Tekzilla. Some restrictions do apply. Please see the site for details. And please support Tekzilla by supporting our sponsors.
Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, keepmeout.com. Life on the internet can be hard when you're trying to get some actual work done. With all those tempting bookmarks lining your browser, eventually the lure will become too strong and you'll be off in social networking land when you should be in TPS report mode. Keep Me Out is the perfect solution for people who want a gentle reminder they should be getting their butt in gear. First, head over to keepmeout.com and then enter in the web address of the site you need to visit a little less frequently. Let's try Facebook as an example. I have a pretty itchy trigger finger, so we'll tell Keep Me Out to warn me if I hit my Facebook bookmark too many times in a 5-minute period. We just replaced my old bookmark with the new custom alias. Oops, looks like I've been visiting old Facebook too much. Go figure. To make your life a little more productive, visit keepmeout.com today. So we got scared for a second because Patrick actually looked up Dune on the Kindle.
Yeah, Frank Herbert,
and we were
Dune.
and we were like, oh crap, really? Tom just said he couldn't find it. And then it says not yet available. So I guess they're working on it, huh?
So close and yet so far.
So freaking far away. So I hear your niece had some iPod problems on the trip.
Yeah, Annie was locked out of her own iPod. She was really bummed. Somehow the screen lock was activated on her iPod, and she had no idea what the code was to unlock it. So she was musicless until she could get home and log into her computer, because that's normally how you reset the password.
Wait, I thought isn't the passcode just like, I think it's like 0000?
Not if you do it to something super secure, like insert 4 digits. You know, there's only
Oh, so she said it and then forgot it.
9,999 possible combinations.
So she just forgot.
She forgot. So, or somebody else.
That's totally something I would do.
That would really suck.
Yeah.
And it would really suck because if you don't have access to a computer or to your computer and your specific copy of iTunes, you're going to lose everything or you're not going to be able to get into it until you get home. So
But you found a way in?
Yeah, there's actually a pretty easy crack for this. I hesitate
Oh, great.
to call it a crack. It's so simple. Look, screen lock keeps folks from using your iPod, but it doesn't encrypt or hide the contents, which sucks if you want to keep people from stealing your iPod and reusing it, but is great if you happen to have access to anybody's computer if your iPod's screen lock is locked and you can't get it unlocked. Put the iPod into disk mode. Usually it's the menu and the center button connected to a computer, and turn on Show Hidden Files in that computer. It's a little more complicated in OS X. There's a great Twitter thread on this I should summarize, but I'm not going to do that right now because it'll take like 10 minutes. You're going to find a file inside called Locked, and that's inside the iPod_control folder. Reboot the iPod once you've deleted that file called, I forgot the most important part, delete the file called Locked.
Delete that sucker.
Delete that sucker.
Get her out of there.
Then reboot the iPod. That's the menu button and the center button. The lock is gone, the iPod is accessible, and everyone, including my niece, was way happy.
So do you think that'll work with iPhones too? In
It
a
might.
similar way?
We can take a look at it.
Does she have a touch or is it an older iPod?
She had a Nano.
A Nano. Interesting.
This will work with a large array of iPods. I have not yet tested it on the iPhone.
Yeah, if you guys know of any way to get past the passcode system for other devices like the iPhone or the iPod Touch, I want to know if it's similar, if that works for that as well.
We can finally find out what's secreted away on Serafina's G1.
Yes. Oh, that would be a good one to know too, how to hack into a G1.
I can hear the sound of
It's a little more
Serafina
open, so I
hiding
wonder
her
if it's a
G1.
little easier or if it's a little smarter because it's open.
Speaking of like open and the Android G1 and the whole Google Android, Google's actually yanked all of the tethering applications for the G1.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
They have been made to go away, I understand.
Well, that's weird because there's going to be tethering apps for the iPhone soon.
Soon.
So,
Maybe it'll require buying
the balance
a new
of
iPhone.
power is being restored
Actually,
in the
you know
geek world.
It's
I don't know what that means.
They may be gone by the time you read this, but there is a refurbished iPhone fire sale going on at AT&T, like $150, which is also a strong indication that the next round of iPhone will be coming out shortly.
Yeah, we'll have to do a speculation show at some point. I know people don't like it when we get too Mac specific,
Right.
but it's always fun once WWDC comes around to, try to figure out we should have Kevin on because he loves talking about that stuff.
And somebody inside
he always
Apple
has
always
his own
emails him.
opinions. I know, they tip him off. I don't
It's
know
always
why.
interesting.
I bet he pays him off. I bet that's what he does. Anyhow, we've got some questions about Raid, eh? The smell of Raid in the springtime.
Yes.
Not the ant-killing kind.
Should we fire up that video question?
I think we should.
I have an HP computer which was originally configured in RAID 1. I'd like now to change that to RAID 0. It seems more effective use of my time and space. How can I do that and safeguard my data?
I love the smell of Raid in the morning.
I already made that joke, except I said springtime.
You said springtime. I
Springtime
said
in the morning.
You're doing like a totally, I'm going for like the Apocalypse Now thing, and you're going for like something totally different.
All right.
We should answer
Whatever.
the question.
Yes, RAID, aka a redundant array of inexpensive disks, is of course a way of combining low-cost PC hard drives in ways that make them faster or more reliable. There are various flavors of RAID, known as standard RAID levels.
0, 1, 3, 5. There's a whole bunch of others that nobody really pays attention to if you're not super psycho computer geek.
They sound pretty standard.
They're standard. 0, 1, 3, 5. 0, 1, 5.
The RAID level 1 used currently in your HP is mirroring, and in theory protects your data, since in RAID 1 the second drive is an exact mirror copy of the first drive. The idea is that if one drive fails, you have that exact copy to call back to, which works great as long as there's not, say, a power spike that happens to kill both drives. And I've known that to happen to people before.
Yeah, we both know people that's happened to.
Sad, sad stories.
But I had it mirrored. But
It's like,
the
oh,
electricity
then-
fried everything.
Sorry about that. I suspect that you're in search of speed, since level 0 is all about speed. It splits or stripes data across multiple drives at the same time. You'll have to download the manual for your motherboard or RAID card to find out exactly how to configure that drive. But you mentioned reliability, and I know Patrick isn't a huge fan of RAID 0 in that respect.
No, I'm not. Not even a little bit. You're going to have to copy all the data off those drives in order to reconfigure them in RAID 0. I would use this as a chance to upgrade to a newer, faster drive, move your stuff onto that new drive, and use one of your drives that's currently inside your machine for storage, and use the second drive as an external storage drive for backups. Basically buy a little cheap USB case, because depending on how old your current drives are and how fast or not fast, and some of them really suck, I'm talking about your RAID controller now, depending on how fast your RAID controller is, a single new drive might be considerably faster than your existing drives in a RAID 0 configuration.
So no RAID?
I would dump RAID. There are moments like RAID 5, I think, is amazing. It's incredible. It's like parity data spread across multiple drives. So if a single drive dies, it's able to reconstitute the missing data. I am not a huge fan of motherboard RAID controllers because a lot of them suck. A lot of them are cheap parts that are put on there because fanboys need RAID 0 now, or they did 3 or 4 years ago. They're either going to work amazing for you or they fail. And when RAID 0 fails, it can be super ugly, as in no recovery of your lost data. So if you do go the RAID 0 route, and if it's faster, more power to you, make sure you keep your data backed up regularly on something outside of that machine. Because there's nothing worse than losing all your stuff.
No, and especially when you feel like you have a system set up where
Right.
it's safe. Like that's the worst, where you feel like you went to like a lot of steps to make sure that
Right.
your data's safe and secure and fast and reliable, and then all of a sudden it's like gone.
Yeah, and a really close friend of mine lost every electrical device in his house. His computer,
you told me about that.
His like old school Apple II, his refrigerator, his microwave, his television, because somebody basically made an oops when they were working on the local, basically a transformer in
That's
his neighborhood.
That happened today, I think, actually in San Francisco. The power went out in a few neighborhoods. I hope that didn't happen to any of you guys out there.
Might be the same person working on it. Somebody called PG&E. The thing is, though, it's like the second safest place to store your data is in an external drive in your house. And when you back the data up to it and you unplug it from the computer and you unplug
put
it from
away.
the wall.
Yeah.
The next safest
Build a little
thing
nest for it in your closet.
is to take that to somebody
Pet it
else's
goodnight.
house. You know, keep your work data at home and home data at work. Don't get into it if you're sort of doing the secure NSA data thing, or use an online storage service, a reputable online storage service, because that way, if you live in San Francisco and the town crumbles in the next earthquake, your data is somewhere else other than underneath the pile of sticks
Wait, I
that
need
used to
to-
be your house. Quick, find wood.
You jerk. Anyway, there's still more viewer questions to go. I think we should move away from this now because you've made me upset thinking about earthquakes.
GoDaddy.com, if you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names for as little as $1.99. World-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and quite a bit more. Your website visitors, prospects, and customers are wary of websites and online businesses that aren't what they claim to be, and worry that their personal and financial information might fall into the wrong hands. Turn your visitors' concerns into a competitive advantage with the ironclad protection of a GoDaddy.com secure certificate. Want to score a discount? Of course you do. Try the code TEK4, that's TEK4 when you check out. You'll score an additional 15% off any order of $75 or more. Some restrictions do apply. Please see the site for details. Do us a favor here at Tekzilla. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and use that code TEK4 when you do.
Brain Tonic is the world's first think drink. It has 0 caffeine and 0 processed sugar, but it's quite effective for increasing that mental clarity. The mental focus comes from 2 herbs and 2 natural compounds, and it's sweetened only with organic agave nectar. Place an order of Brain Tonic online at braintonic.com, that's tonic with a Q, and use the coupon R3 for a discount on your order. Now, between the two of us, Pat, we probably have, what, like 40 to 400 different online passwords out there?
Let's call it an even 200 passwords.
1 billion. Do you ever have trouble remembering those passwords by any chance?
Plus, the passwords on your PC, passwords on your phone,
Yes.
passwords on your work computer, passwords on your home computer. I'm getting depressed just thinking about it.
Yeah, well, it seems that Max has that very similar problem, or at least his friends and family do.
It's not the passwords, it's the remembering them.
Yes, that's right. Max writes, I'm the tech guy for a number of friends and family. Of course, we all have tons of passwords we have to keep track of. I use KeePass on a USB stick and like it, but this might be a little too technically oriented for Aunt Susie. I've seen online password management services like LastPass.com, but storing all your important passwords online just seems like inviting disaster and theft. What would you recommend for a non-techie person to keep track of their multitudinous passwords? Free, of course, is preferred. What a great word, multitudinous.
That's an awesome word. password.
We're going to assume that you're on a PC, or at least that most of your friends and family are on a PC. Otherwise, Keychain would probably do it for them.
Well, I have to admit, I have at times just stored everything in an Excel spreadsheet and kept that in an encrypted folder. But again,
that's danger. Well, if you've got it
probably-
encrypted, that's something. Password protected.
Yeah.
Haha. Password protected.
yeah, well,
That's trouble.
I can remember one password.
Yeah, so Keychain would probably take care of most of those issues for you, but you sound like you're on a PC. LastPass is a great program, and it's available on Mac, PC, and Linux. But if you're uncomfortable with the onlineness of it, I would actually recommend RoboForm.
RoboForm actually has a pretty. It's free. There's a pro version.
There's a free and pro version. The different levels, you get a lot of stuff added onto the pro version, but probably not stuff that you would necessarily need. For all intents and purposes, the free application should just be fine for Aunt Susie and you. Although the pro version does support multiple user accounts.
Which can be useful.
Right, so if he's got like 5 different people using the same PC and they don't want, if Aunt Susie doesn't want Cousin Betty getting into her Facebook account by being able to log in.
This could be disastrous.
Right.
Especially if you have children, brothers, sisters, brothers, sisters, cousins.
Issues.
Issues.
And RoboForm can also run off a USB key, so if you liked that from
did not know
KeepPass that you were using previously, you can continue to use the thumb drive for yourself. And Aunt Susie, I keep going back to Aunt Susie, she sounds like such a lovely woman. She'll probably enjoy the automatic form filling that RoboForm does as well. It's another one of their big selling points.
RoboForm's put together by a great group of people. Some of the most technically sophisticated people I know use RoboForm because they just don't want to keep track of the 42,000 passwords that have overwhelmed their life.
And then Firefox does a pretty good job of remembering passwords as well from time to time. Camino that I use on the Mac does use Keychain actually for its password management. So that's pretty handy. I wish all browsers did that. I wish all Mac browsers would just use Keychain. Why don't they do that? Anyway, hopefully that'll be a good suggestion for you. Let us know how it works. Our next email is about something I've also had to deal with a lot recently, using gadgets overseas.
Ooh.
Yes. Phil writes, I'm going to be going to Germany for almost 2 months. I know that there's a voltage difference, 110 volts versus 220. I was wondering how many watts a converter would have to be in order to power a MacBook, 1 terabyte external drive, a BlackBerry, and other small items. Phil in Chicago. Well, that sounds fun.
Oh boy.
Being out in Germany for a couple months.
So this is a USB cable attached to the fabulous Amazon Kindle. This is a plug designed to plug into the USB cable for the Amazon Kindle. Basically, this will power like any USB device off of a wall socket. This is all good. Be very careful about universal power adapters, the ones with like 42 different plugs in them, that just put a regular 120 volt plug on the back end of it, because you can manage to send 220 volts into a 120 volt device and fry the living bejesus out of it. There'll be a faint wisp of smoke, if you're really lucky, a little bit of fire, and a completely useless gadgets. Now, most of the big gadgets today, because basically it's too expensive for somebody like Dell or Apple to make a specific device for a specific power system. So most of the time, big gadgets like the laptop, probably your external drive, have power bricks that do automatic voltage switching. Just look in the labels to see if it can convert from 220 volts. Then you just need a blade plug adapter so it fits into the wall socket, not one of the heavy step-down transformers of doom that it sounds like you're referring to.
Yeah, my favorite travel trick is to actually bring a small compact power strip with me.
Right.
So I just need that blade converter and plug it into the wall, and then I just have to worry about what bricks will do the switching on the other side. But at least I can plug them in and not have to have a whole bunch of different little adapters laying around.
That's actually a good hack.
It's good for airports too, because if you ever go up to someone in the airport and they've got, their laptop and their frickin' iPod or some other gadget plugged into the other wall socket, you're like, I can use this, right? Just plug it into my adapter here.
Yeah, I have like one of those little 3-in-1, and oftentimes when somebody's like jealously guarding the only outlet in that part of the concourse, you can like hold up the 3-in-1 adapter and they'll be like,
Right,
and
but
allow
of
you to
course,
plug in.
with the power strip thing when you're overseas, you still have to make sure that your gadgets can convert that voltage so you don't get the fried issue.
Yes. For smaller digital devices, you can basically divide 220 volt. Look for an adapter that's like, whatever the voltage is, the country you're going to, and converts it to the DC voltage of the gadget. Keep an eye on the amperage, because some devices do suck a fair amount of amperage, and if you're not going to power a 1.5 amp device off of 500 milliamp adapter.
Yeah, but you got to be careful with things like flat irons. I know I've had that
Hair
issue.
dryers.
Hair dryers, flat irons, because if they're taking alternating current,
Sandwich makers.
they will probably need a transformer.
George Foreman grills.
George Foreman grills. Do you regularly take those overseas with you? Do
No,
they not
but
have them there?
I did that just for someone out there I knew was watching.
Oh, that's nice.
They had an incident.
Well, our final email of the day seems a little inappropriate considering it's about 80 degrees outside the Revision 3 offices and about 110 in them, but Jeb is looking to the future. Or is that the past? In any case, he writes, I run an electric heater that uses 1800 watts. It stays on most of the winter. Since I have a lot of old computers, why not run a whole fleet of them all winter for a more fun way to heat my back room? How many average desktop towers would I have to use for the same BTUs as my 1800 watt electric heater? Jeb in Washington, D.C. Well, this sounds like a question we should probably pose to the viewers. Let's find the Jeb the best way to heat his house for the winter using his old computers. I imagine the downside would be that horrible, like airport-like sound of all those fans running at the same time.
You might want to turn all the fans off because he's trying to generate
Oh, you're
heat
right.
off the computers.
I thought they'd be good to, because you don't want to fry the computers totally. So maybe you have the heat, the fans blowing the heat into the room.
We don't really care if they run, just that the processor generates. Oh goodness, I imagine.
What should he do, guys? My one gaming box is enough to heat up my office. So I imagine that 10 towers like that would be pretty intense. That could work.
I mean, here in San Francisco, where in theory there is no weather, so they don't insulate
Yeah.
any of the older
Yes.
houses, and this is just making me laugh. I want to hear your suggestions. I want to know if anybody's actually measured the exact BTUs coming off like a 70 watt or 150 watt CPU.
Well, that's why I'm saying ask these guys, because I know that they're awesome and nerdy enough that someone out there surely has done this at some point or knows the math to figure it out.
There's something tells me it's just not going to be efficient space-wise.
Meh, we don't care about that.
We do in San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a bigger apartment than we do.
And for all of you watching, we live on your questions, even the peculiar ones. So email them to us, Tekzilla@revision3.com. Check out product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll get the information to you. But we need those emails, so don't be shy. Send them into Tekzilla@revision3.com.
Or even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload that puppy to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line. Hey, and don't forget to catch System. System, that's your other show. This Monday as it celebrates its 100th episode. Congratulations,
Thank
big
you.
guy.
Thank you. I actually wasn't on this episode, but there were flamethrowers. It makes me sad.
Aw.
The crew
Watch
put
it
together
anyway.
a ridiculously dangerous contraption to light the candles on the 100th episode cake. Will it
sounds
work?
awesome.
Will the candles be lit? Will they light the workshop on fire? Find out. New episodes of System come out each and every Monday. And as always, we should mention the forums are available.
Yes, absolutely. The forums, revision3.com/forum. I was just thinking that at least I know they did not burn the building down.
Yes, the
I
building
haven't
is
looked
here.
into the
building is
system set,
standing.
so I don't know what happened there. But we look okay.
You smell a little
There's
barbecue in the air?
Maybe a little bit. It kind of always smells like that. Anyway, visit the forums, revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans of the show. So thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Until next time, you've been watching Tekzilla.
Bye. Oh God,
Need more paper
so
towels?
hot in here. You don't want me smelling up the set, do you? It's like 400,000 degrees in here. God,
Did you just
pretty warm.
grab this with your
Okay, we're on the
pit
tube.
drying hand?
I had a towel in between. I didn't touch anything. Oh, you're grossed out. You're grossed out. And your HP is mirroring. Sorry, let me pick that up. 3.
Meal wing.
Mule wing.